Hey and hello to you all, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing fine. Thank you for tuning in for yet another video here with me. Today it is a review. It's a review of an album that came out in 1992 originally, and I bet you never guess which artist I'm going to talk about. I love Kim Wilde. My actually fondness of her music kicked off for real in 1984 with this album here, Teasers and Dares. Great album, solid album in my book. And then in 1986 we had Another Step, which is down there. And then it all culminated in 1988 with Close, that I have here behind me. This is the pinnacle of the Kim Wilde production so far. Nothing been able to reach the heights of Close. It's such a great album. And then in 1990 we got Love Moves, and I remember I was so invested in Kim Wilde at the time, so when Love Moves came out in 1990 I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. So I bought it, and I was a bit disappointed when I came home, listened to it, because it didn't really live up to what I was used to with Kim Wilde, and especially this album. But what can come close to Close? No, so I was a bit disappointed. So that's probably where my interest in Kim Wilde started to wane a bit. And I would say over the years, and especially the last couple of years, just listening back to this one, I have really reevaluated this one. I started to appreciate for what it is. It's got some really good tracks on it. So, I mean, yeah, just a brilliant one. I love them all, of course. But the last record that I ever bought in the 90s by Kim Wilde is this one behind me. It's a maxi single, of course, of I Can't Have You. And we're going to talk more about that one a bit later. But yeah, that's basically where my journey ended. So you might say, well, you skipped one there. Yeah, we have to go back 1 year from 1993 and that one to 1992 when she released an album called Love Is. And I was certainly aware of this one when it came out in 1992. But if you have been following my channel, you know at the time in 1992 I was heavily invested in electronic dance music. It might be techno, might be house, whatever. So I was just lending a very brief ear to the pop charts at the time. But I was aware that Kim Wilde was releasing something. But you know, bit disappointed in this one at the time, and then when she released another one I was like, nah, I'll skip that one. Unfortunately I did that. I heard a couple of the singles back then, and what I remember, especially one of them that we're going to talk about very soon, I was very fond of, but I never listened to this album as a whole, just the singles, unfortunately. But then earlier this year, when I heard that this one was going to be re-released, I was like, oh yeah, that is the blank spot in my Kim Wilde collection. I don't have this one. I never listened to it. I don't know why. I don't know why over all these years since 1990 whatever. Not since this one came out, but I mean, even after I got a bit fed up with the whole techno house scene, I didn't go back listen to this one, but I forgot about it. And this year, things changed. I went on to a streaming platform, listened to it, and I was blown away. So that is why I ordered this one. It's a re-release from Demon Records, and we're going to go into the technicalities of the release itself soon. But I just want to give you my thoughts around this album as a whole and mention some standout tracks from it. Well, the whole theme of this one is love, if you haven't guessed that, hence the title. And that is something that Kim Wilde been dealing with a lot on her previous albums. Love Moves is another sign of that. And she does it so good. All these mid-tempo ballad songs that we got from her over the years, she does them so good. Powerful voice, good songwriting from her, and this is no exception. It is a solid album. So even the weaker tracks on this one, I mean, I call them the weaker tracks because they're not bad or anything like that, but compared to some others, they are holding up really well, even the weaker tracks on this one. It's a very cohesive album. It all gels together very, very well, I think. And to kick things off, when you put it on the A side of this vinyl record, you'll get Love Is Holy. And I can't think of a better way to kick off an album by this song. And that also goes into the production of this whole album. It actually had two producers. That's usually the case with most of Kim's albums. The main component on all her albums are her brother, Ricky Wilde. He's been very instrumental in the production of her records and also writing a lot of her songs together with Kim and others. But they also brought in other producers on the different albums just to mix things up and keep things interesting, and that formula has been working so well, and this is no exception. In this case, for Love Is, they brought in Rick Knowles. And Rick Knowles, he's a legend in the music business. If we look back on the 80s, for example, you know Belinda Carlisle's Heaven is a Place on Earth, or Circle in the Sand from that album. That is Rick Knowles. That is the sound, the production, the songwriting of Rick Knowles. So when you listen to the opening track of this album, Love Is Holy, you can't help yourself thinking of Belinda Carlisle, because it's such a Belinda Carlisle song. And I'm saying such a Belinda Carlisle song because Heaven is a Place on Earth came out before this one, so that is our reference point. But now we got Kim singing this one, and she does it brilliantly. But it's very much a Belinda Carlisle-esque song because it's a Rick Knowles song, if you know what I mean. But yeah, a perfect match here. It is a banger of a pop tune. Yeah, can't ask for any more for album opener. And this one was actually released as, I believe it was the first single from this album as well, and it did really well. Peaked in number 16 on the UK single charts, and in Sweden, where I come from, peaked in number 39 on the Swedish single chart. So it did really well. Solid opening. And then we go on to the second track. Who Do You Think You Are is the second one, and this is Kim Rick Wilde production, written song / something. So Rick Knowles is not involved in this one, and this is another great song. It's more in the vein of what we used to hear Kim Wilde back in the late 80s, I would say, or mid 80s perhaps. Really good pop song, and this was chosen as the third single from this album, and a single that peaked in the number 49th spot in the UK single charts. I think it says in my notes here. So if you find me looking down here, it's because I got some notes here in front of me, because there are some numbers, I can't keep them in my head. So and I also said, yeah, the third track, I Believe in You. And all I said here on my notes is See Above. Yeah, another great song. So you got three great openers on this album. Can we call them all openers? But it opens up the album, right? So the first three songs are absolutely stellar. Absolutely. And then to round off side A, and I'm going by the original album listing here, because this one does include 3 bonus tracks that we see here down on the hype sticker. But I'm going to talk about those a bit later in this review. So I'm just going to go through the original album listing here. So the 2 last songs on side A on this record is mid-tempo ballads. The first one is called Touched by Your Magic, which I think the chorus is really good in this one. Production, stellar, It's once again Ricky Wilde who's in charge of production here, but it's a really good one. But it's one of those mid-of-the-road tracks. You always get these on albums. All can't be good. They all can't be close. So most other albums do have these. Like, it's not bad songs, but they are, yeah, good. Okay, so that's it. And then the last song on the A side is called I Won't Change the Way I Feel. It's called, yeah, I had to read here. I Won't Change the Way I Feel. And that is another Rick Knowles production. Really good ballad. I really liked how they broke down the song towards the end, because there's like the usual breakdown and then it builds up again. That kind of a breakdown. But that breakdown was a bit unusual. They just killed all the instrumentation. All that is basically left there is a synth arpeggio, and I think Kim's voice ringing out from the previous chorus or verse. And then it just kicks up again, and it's just a brilliant production, once again, from Mr. Knowles. And then we go to the B-side, and I'll turn my page here in my notes. Yeah, this one kicks off in a similar way to the A-side. We got a track called A Million Miles Away, it's called. And what a song. I actually wrote here in my notes, picks up outstanding exclamation point, and that's all I have to say about it. It is a brilliant song, and one of the standout tracks from this album, if not the standout track. I was blown away by this one, and it turns out it was actually the fourth and last single lifted from this album. But weirdly enough, the record company didn't have too much hope in that song, so they first released it in Japan, I think, and then in some selected countries around Europe and Australia. But that's it. No worldwide release, so to speak. I would think this one would do really well. It's very catchy, a really good pop song, Million Miles Away. And then we have the second track of the B-side, and it's called The Light of the Moon, and within parentheses, Belongs to Me. A very sweet title for a very sweet song. And the reason I'm going into this one, it's another one that's penned by Kim and Ricky Wilde, together with Steve Bird. And this is a good reason to mention it, because Steve Bird, he's not only the guitarist for Kim's band, I think he joined in the early 80s, like 82 or something like that. And he's been an essential part of that band as a guitarist ever since then, all through the 80s and through the 90s. And he also co-wrote a couple of songs for her as well. One notable one is Hey Mr. Heartache. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so Steve Bird, but otherwise it's an okay song. Another one you expect something like this end up like the second track on the B-side, mid-album, so to speak. And then we go into the next track on the B-side, which is called Heart Over Mind, which actually became the second single to be lifted from this album. Another mid-tempo song, in lack of better words, like I said with the previous one, a bit mid-road. It's a transportation to the next great thing, right? Yeah, on the album. But it, like I said in the beginning, it gels so well with the rest of the tracks. It's not like it's a standout bad track or anything like that, or you fall asleep. But it's not. You got two mid-ballad / ballad songs here in a row, so you get a bit. So yeah, we'll just leave it there. But then the next one, A Miracle's Coming. This is both Kim, Ricky, and Mr. Knowles together. And Mr. Knowles produced this, but they all three of them wrote this one, A Miracle's Coming. And this is a good one. Really good chorus in this. It's really catchy. I think the production is stellar. But there's something that I got hung up on when it comes to the verses in this one. it doesn't seem to really go anywhere. They're just there like, I don't know how to describe it. There's something that's missing from it, but once it picks up for the chorus, it's all fine. It's all great. It's such a great one, but I can't really pinpoint. I might have to listen to it more to actually pinpoint that and come back in a YouTube short or something to explain my thoughts around that. But a really good production. I really like this track, Miracles Is Coming. And then we had another one, Try Again. It's a ballad, another ballad with really nice backing vocals. I would say this whole album's got really nice backing vocals on it, nice harmonization and all of that. So this is another one where I can't say it's mid-road. It's stepped up a bit. It's really good. And the funny thing with it, it's very minimal in the beginning. The instrumentation they've done for this is very minimal, and you hear Kim's lovely voice singing it. And you would expect the way it builds a bit, that it would be culminating in this big, huge power ballad kind of thing. But it never does. It tricks us a bit, because when you think it's going to pick up, it doesn't really reach those heights to get like a bombastic power ballad kind of thing. So yeah, I think they did a really good job with this track, Try Again. And then the track to round off this album is called Too Late, another mid-tempo / ballad. She loves her ballads, Kim, and we love her for it, of course. This is probably the best ballad on the album, in my opinion. Really good production. Love the backing vocals. A perfect closing track for the original album. Yeah, so that's it. My overall thoughts is the change they made to this one is that they put a lot of guitars up front instead of the synths that we were used to on the previous two albums, at least. So the guitars are more prevalent. You get a lot of guitar solos on this album, but I don't mind it at all. It really works well, and I think the collaboration or the mixture, I would say, between Ricky Wilde and Ricky Knowles productions all through this one works really well, and Kim is as usual grand, and the voice, the singing is just stellar. So now let's check out the bonus tracks for this re-release. It's 3 tracks that weren't included on the original release in 1992. And the first one is called In My Life, and it rounds off the side 1 or side A on this vinyl record. And it's a song that was specially written and recorded for a compilation that was being released in 1993 called Kim Wilde Singles 1981 to 1993. Yeah. I think that's the title. And just to entice people, you know, collectors have all the records already. They don't need to buy a compilation, but you know what? We included a new track on this one, actually 2 tracks on this one that you never heard before. It's brand new. So they entice people to go out and buy it, and that's a really good business strategy. Something that a lot of bands and artists do still today. Yeah, so we got that one here, In My Life, and it's a very nice upbeat pop song with a very nice chorus in it, I think. A very hooky. But it is very much a product of its time. It's very 90s sounding, you know, dance tracks that were produced in the early 90s, got a lot of influences from house music, and that's basically what we get here. So it doesn't really gel very well with the rest of the material. It's another upbeat song, but the production is a bit different on it. But they did a good move on this one. They placed it as the last track on side A, as I said, So I don't think it really matters. We get another upbeat song, and I'm just thankful that they included that one here. The second one, we already touched upon that one earlier, and it's that one, If I Can't Have You. And if you don't recognize that title, I'm sure as soon as you put it on, you will be like, ah, that one, I know that one, because it's such a huge disco classic. It is a cover. It was written by the Bee Gees in 1977 for Yvonne Elliman, who sang it on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Yeah. So yeah, and then it became this huge disco song, and it's considered one of the classics today. And what Kim Wilde does with this one is great. Once again, a very 90s production, a dance production, but she put that high energy spirit into it, and with her powerful voice as well. It's just the creme de la creme when it comes to dance tracks from Kim Wilde in the 90s. And this one did really well in a lot of countries. It became her most successful single in the 1990s, and in Australia I think it spent like 20 or 21 weeks in the charts there, peaking at number 3. And then on the UK dance charts, it peaked at number 6, and the UK single charts at number 12, and in Sweden in number 24. So it was a really big hit. And if you look at all the charts around the world, it was charting quite nicely there. So it was a huge one for her, and a really good move to cover such a well-known disco song in a very 90s way. Yeah, so that one is included on this one as well, and it's the last track on the B-side, the last track of the album, and it's a good conclusion to the whole thing. After two mid-tempo ballads, we get If I Can't Have You, and you just, after it's finished, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna start over again, and I'm gonna turn it over, play Love Is Holy again, and I'm just gonna run through this roller coaster, a lovely roller coaster of an album from start to finish once again. That's at least my feelings around this. Yeah, so a great one. And the last one, I found A Reason. It's an exclusive B-side. It was a B-side from Heart Over Mind. Yeah, that's it. I nearly remember it, but I had a look at my notes. Heart Over Mind had an exclusive B-side called I Found a Reason, and that is a really good track that actually gels very well with the rest of the material here, and no wonder, because they probably came out of the same sessions when they were recording Love Is. And that is placed just before In My Life on side 1, so just before rounding off that side, so it works really, really well. And just to be a completist around this album, I would have wished they just managed to cram in just 2 more songs on this record, but there's just so much that you can fit on a vinyl record before it started sounding bad, really, so I don't blame them at all. But there are 2 songs that I would love them to include if it was possible. And the first one is Birthday Song, which was an exclusive B-side to Love Is Holy, the single. And this song is probably the best, in my opinion, from Kim Wilde when it comes to B-sides. It's a brilliant, brilliant B-side, lovely song. Kim's voice is, as usual, excellent in this one. The lyrics are good. The chorus is great, and this was penned by Ricky Wilde, her brother, and it's dedicated to his daughter Scarlett. I think she's called Scarlett. At least she sings about Scarlett in this one. But yeah, it is a brilliant, brilliant B-side from Kim Wilde. And the other one, just to complete round things off, they could have included the B-side of If I Can't Have You, which was I Never Felt So Alive, or Never Felt So Alive. And that is another really brilliant track. Pop rock a la Kim Wilde, you know, classic Wilde track, basically. It's just a really, really good one. So those are the 2 that I wish they could have crammed into this one. But like I said, I understand why they didn't. But there is a remedy for that. I will come to that in just a couple of seconds. But first, let's just say that they did a stellar job with the cover here, or to reproduce the original cover here. It looks really good, no pixelation or anything that I can see, at least. Yeah, really good reproduction. And you also get the insert here, which I assume, because I never owned this album before, is also a reproduction of the original. Lovely photo there of Kim Wilde. And the vinyl record itself comes on a colored vinyl, and I'm a sucker for colored vinyl. And in this case, it's an opaque yellow vinyl, and it looks really, really good. But I had wished they stuck with the colors, more orangey colors perhaps, so it would match the cover. But there's some yellow in orange, so yeah, I'm not complaining really. Nitpicking, it's called. Yeah, so, and how about the quality then? Because that's the most important thing. We're going to listen to this one. We're not just going to look at the pretty vinyl colors here. No, I think the sound holds up really well. I don't have anything to compare with here. I won't compare to what I have been streaming before, but I would say it's very silent mastering, this one. And I'm not an authority when it comes to mastering, so I'm just saying things here basically, and hopefully it makes sense. But it's very quiet. It seems like it needed some more dynamics in it, more punch to it, because I had to turn up the volume quite a lot when I was listening to this one, and it sounds fine. It sounds good, and the pressing itself is really good, nice and quiet. But there's just something about the mastering that made me have to turn up the volume, and even at the higher volumes, you don't get, because in some cases you do reach a level where like the bass kicks in and things like that. But the lack of bass in this one is very trebly, mid-rangey kind of thing. But like I said, I don't have nothing to compare with, and yeah, it's just the way it is. But the only thing I have to compare with from the same era, and it is included on this reissue, is If I Can't Have You. Sorry. I put that one on straight after just to compare, because I was a bit, it's a bit soft in volume here. I put it on and I nearly blew the walls out here because I forgot to turn down the volume from playing the album. So yeah, if that one is anything to go by to compare with, they are miles apart. It's night and day when it comes to it. That one is punchy as, yeah. But it could also be the fact that it's recorded a year after. It's a dance track and it was made to play in the clubs. Who knows? So it's only the only thing they have to compare with. So I'm going to ask you who are watching this, do you have any references? Do you have the old albums from 1992? And have you been able to compare it with the re-released album of Love Is? Just curious, because that was my initial impression. But that's not it. What if you're like me, want even more? I want to have those left out tracks that I was talking about that it didn't fit on the vinyl record. I want all the extended remix. I want all the club mixes, all of it. Well, look no further than Cherry Pop Records, because they released this one, Love Is. And this is the 4-disc box set, we could call it. I actually ordered this one straight after my second listening to Love Is, because I understood that, yeah, I want more of this. And I saw that they released this one as well. It is, I don't think we miss out on anything on this one. It's fully packed. Like I said, it's 4 discs. The 4th one is the DVD. Well, we're going to come to that. So CD1 is the whole album, and you also get the bonus tracks. A birthday song is here, I Found a Reason, as well. If I Can't Have You, In My Life, Never Felt So Alive. So there we go, we round up that one. And we got another track called One Door Closes, which I had to read up on because I didn't recognize it. And it turns out, looking at the wonderful booklet you get with this one as well, in the liner note it said it was actually thought of as a third exclusive track for a singles collection that was released in 1993. But it was scrapped, so it's been shelved ever since then, but now it's here for all our enjoyment. And you know what? I just got this one, so I haven't been able to listen to this one, so I can't give you my opinion on it, but I'm sure it's great. And then you got the 7 versions of the singles, along with every alternative mix, every club mix that's been released, a bunch of rough mixes as well, to my knowledge never been heard before by the general public. And you also get a lot of live performances as well from the DVD, from Top of the Pops here. Tricks and Tracks is another show she did, Love is Holy on, for example, on the Pebble Mill, on Wogan, and so forth and so on. There's so many different live performances here on the DVD. And you also get all the videos as well for all the singles that she released, and the bonus footage of behind the scenes on creating some of these videos as well. So there's loads on this one. And as usual with Cherry Pop Records, they have done a beautiful packaging here. So it's all fold out, of course. And there you have all the 4 discs, along with some lovely panel and artwork. And we'll turn the whole thing over and I'll see if I can fit it all in. Yeah, there we go. Really nicely done. And that's the thing I love with digipacks, the way they fold out, the way that you can design digipacks to look as nice as this. But there's one thing I don't love with digipacks, and that has nothing to do with Cherry Pop, because everyone who does them have this problem, as I will call it. Because the way they store the discs, usually it's not in a clear tray where you just pop them on. No, they have these small envelopes where they hold the discs. And what happens over time, even if you're really careful in pulling out the discs, it will create scratches because they run against cardboard basically, and you're probably aware of this as well. So what happened with this one, even straight out from the packaging, and you can't really see it here, I won't even try to show you because it's gonna have glares all over it, but nearly all the discs had a lot of scratches in the bottom end of a disc where they slid in, and that's probably from the factory when they were packaging. And you can't really do anything about it. And the good thing is, CDs are not that sensitive as a vinyl record might be for scratches, so you can't really hear them. But I think over time, because I experienced this myself with a record or two I have in my collection, over time the scratches are so severe, so you do get some skips in some cases. But yeah, so I will see what I will do. I've seen that there are some inner bags that you can put these ones in, like plastic ones. But I'm not sure, because I read some comments about people doing this, and they have some off-gassing going on, so you get some discoloration on the disc surfaces, and that might lead to other problems along the road as well. I don't know. Do you have any experience in doing this, like putting inner bags for your CDs? Please let me know your experience around this, and why I might go with one material over the other. And in some cases I can't even tell what material it is. It just says plastic bags or plastic inner bags. So yeah, I'm a bit hesitant there, but also don't like this way of doing it. And like I said, this has nothing to do with, because it looks really good, it's nothing to do with Cherry Pop in this case. It's just the way CDs are stored usually in digi boxes or digi packs. Yeah, so to round things off, you also get a really nice booklet with this CD set. I haven't had a chance to read all of it, but you have a lot of liner notes here, along with some really nice promotional pictures from the time. And you also get all the lyrics to all the songs here, and you also get a really nice center spread here with all the single releases as well, the way the singles looked. And down here you got the singles compilation as well, because a couple of tracks are from there. But I think they done a stellar job. Like I said, Cherry Pop Records, as usual, gives us the goods. I never been let down by any of their issues or reissues they've done. They put their hearts and soul into all of this to give us this brilliant release. Yeah, so to round things off, this album was a popular one at the time in 1992, especially here in Europe, where it did peak on number 21 on the UK album charts, and in Denmark I saw it was peaking at number 7 on the album charts, and in Sweden it was peaking at 25 on the 25th spot, and in Switzerland in number 7. And in both Switzerland and Sweden this one sold gold, so that means they sold more than 50,000 units of this one. Really pleased to hear that. But I sadly wasn't part of it. But who knew back then in 1992 that we someday might get not only a reissue on a vinyl record with a couple of bonus tracks on it, but also a lavish box set of this album. It must have been a pipe dream back then, but we did get it, and thanks to both Demon Records and Cherry Pop for giving us goodies like this. Yeah, that will round things off for me. What do you think of this album? Have you ever heard it? Is this something that you're tempted to listen to if you haven't? Give me all the thoughts around Kim Wilde and the album Love Is. It would be really nice to hear your opinions around this, and please give me those opinions on inner sleeves for or inner bags for CDs as well. I'm really curious about that, because I don't want to get my CD scratched and be unplayable in a couple of years. Yeah, but that's it. Thank you so much for watching yet another video with me here, the review of Kim Wilde's Love Is. So until next time, you all take care of yourself, and from Kim and I, bid you adieu.